At the State Fair in Rutland, Vermont in 1992, Bob Jones and his father Ted discovered that the true test of the community's strength is the ability to pull together when every moment counts.
The long line was driven by Bob Jones, owned and exhibited by Ted Jones. Take off your hat, Ted, and show them where you are.
My father, he's a die-hard mule lover. I was kind of embarrassed to be seen leading a mule when everybody else is leading a horse, but years ago I decided to go along with him and help him out.
Ted Jones was the announcer at the timed obstacle competition that day. Tony DePalmer was a longtime friend of Ted's.
The driver of a team had to show his expertise through a specified course in the fastest time.
Okay, next one is Karen Munson, Underhill, Vermont. Here she comes. Yes, sir.
My father's kind of a character around town. Everybody seems to know him.
Okay, now let's give her a chance. Back in between the barrels.
Ted had a heart attack a number of years ago, but he didn't seem to suffer any recurrences.
I don't know if she does funerals or not. Oh, the paper's on the barrel and she's out the door. Let's have a hand. Minute 38 seconds. Karen's got it so far. Who's our next contestant out there? Uh-oh, here comes my son. Here he comes.
As soon as you come through the doorway, you're racing against the clock. Karen Munson was ahead of me, and she was just flying around there, and I got really nervous because I thought that there was no possible way I could beat her time.
Okay, folks, let's be quiet. These mules don't back up the best at all.
The most difficult part is definitely the stopping and backing.
He's got him in there. Come on, let's cheer him on there. Here he comes, around, across the plywood.
Bobby set the new #1 time. He was able to shave seconds off of Karen's time, which was amazing.
He thinks us people are getting old.
You think you can do it faster?
My father was downplaying it, and speaking of how fast his mules went around there. Imagine if they had a real driver on there. So I went and harassed him, and it didn't take much to stir him up.
Those mules are more afraid of me than they are of you.
Bob Jones is one of the most competitive people I know.
Everybody out there wants to see you try.
Aside from his dad.
See how mules can go.
He commented, well, it takes an older guy just to come down and show one of you young fellas how to do it. So he came down out of the booth, and I went up to do the announcing.
Ted Jones, my father, North Fall, Vermont. And they got the paper off the barrel. They're doing pretty good. They're headed for the plywood. They're almost at the stake. He's got it.
My father was running a really good time.
Probably can't even pull her to back them up.
He was hooting and hollering and saying all kinds of extra commands to the mules that they had no clue what he was talking about.
One of the people watching the event was the Joneses' former neighbor, Wendy Chapin.
We were kind of cheering for Ted, but we were kind of picking on them because they were older too. The younger team against the older team.
Ted on the back and told him what a great run we had, and he went like a deflated balloon. He just went.
Everybody thought that he had fallen over because the time he had done it in. But it was natural instincts, I guess, because I just ran right over there. I belonged to a volunteer rescue squad, so when I jumped up, I thought, okay, this is it. This is what I was trained to do. But I was shaken and I was really nervous.
Immediately I assumed that he had had a heart attack a couple of years ago. The doctor had told him if he had one more major heart attack, that was going to be it.
Bob, call 911. I picked up his head and he didn't have a pulse at that time. And I knew then that we were going to have to do CPR on him.
1 and 2.
When I got to him, I assumed it was all over.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
I was not an EMT at that time. I had just joined, so it was my first time ever doing CPR.
And 3 and 4 and 5.
And just looking at his face, and every time we kept doing it, he wasn't coming back, you know, and it was really scary because I knew him really well.
3 and 4 and 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
This was my friend who was no longer breathing.
3 and 4 and 5.
It was a time of sincere loss for me. It was like when I lost my dad. And that's the only other time I ever felt like that.
A regional ambulance service medic unit, including paramedic Bob Howard, got to the scene within minutes.
4, 5.
Okay, what's going on, guys? His color was very ashen gray. His pupils were fixed and dilated. That's our window to the inside of the body. That indicates that there is no blood pressure to the brain.
Hold CPR.
This was a critical call. All indications showed us that there was no survivability.
Charging.
All we could do was try. All right, checking for a pulse. I've got no pulse, Mike. What do you got?
Patient still in VFib. Charging to 300. Stand clear.
All right, checking for a pulse. Still got no pulse. Usually they'll respond the first or second time.
Pulse charging at 360.
Okay. So when the third shock had to be delivered,
Stand clear.
then we knew. Chances are this is not going to work out.
Come on, Ted. Start breathing, Ted. Come on.
I still got no pulse, Mike.
Patient still in VFib. Charging to...
I really didn't feel that it was going to do any good because I thought he was a goner.
Mike, hyperventilating, please.
Some days I can't live with him, but I don't know what I'd ever do without him either.
IV is in. While we were trying to start the cardiac drugs, he did start biting on the tube. Some people call it the death rattle. They can almost appear that they're still alive, but they're not. It's just leftover energy. Okay, 360 one more time. The drugs were placed on board, and Ted was defibrillated a fourth time. Checking for a pulse. I have a pulse, Mike.
Finally, I heard one of the rescue people say, "I'm getting a pulse."
Got a good strong radio.
It was like the world had suddenly brightened again.
Okay, Ted, just relax. Just relax.
I just couldn't believe it when he came to, and there was nothing wrong with him. He wasn't groggy, he wasn't anything. So what's one of the first things he wanted to know? Whether he won. He wanted to know what his time was.
Count, if you can grab this bag when we move him, okay? This was my first cardiac call as a paramedic, and I can tell you I was honestly very nervous. But to have a man come back and talk to you coherently was just a gift. Ted is alive today because a group of people took the time to learn CPR.
Who did CPR?
And they kept him viable.
Did a great job.
So that when we arrived with all of our fancy equipment and drugs, we had something to work with.
Just relax, you'll be fine.
We put him right in the ambulance, and I said I loved him and kissed him, and off he went. I felt great. I just want to tell everybody, I saved someone's life. I'm so excited.
I'm happy.
2 years later, Ted Jones continues to enjoy life to the fullest.
The following week, I was driving my mules at a plowing contest, and the guy says, "What are you, crazy? You were just in the hospital." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I was dead, too. But I'm here today, and if I die here today, I'm going to die happy with my mules in my hands. And that's how I'm going to live my life."
That's what you said. I just wouldn't be the same person if Ted weren't able to come in and visit.
Dad, you're so nice to me.
Nice to you.
Watching people assist another human being that probably most of them didn't even know restored a whole lot of faith in humanity for myself. And this is one day the man in the black coat didn't win.
See her so she doesn't know where she went.
I think about how lucky I am to be alive, see my children grow up. Yep, I'm lucky. I'm lucky I was where I was. No two ways about it.
There's no way that I could ever tell people how happy I am that he's still there to nag and complain about everything I do. I wouldn't be anywhere near the same person that I am without my father around. And I can't thank those people enough that saved him.
Lucky you were there.
Ted used to pick on me for doing volunteer work, but when he had gotten home from the hospital, he said he was sorry that he had said that. He would never pick on me about volunteer work again, that I saved his life.
I'll be grateful the rest of my life to those people. I'm back doing just about everything that I've always done. I can't quite keep up with Bob, but I'm slow but steady. I did get the blue ribbon, you know? Ooh, that was the most expensive blue ribbon I ever got.
Your husband's going to start wondering.
Okay. Good fun.
Think so?